Um, what if I told you that focusing obsessively on high-protein foods to lose weight might actually be, well, the exact reason you keep gaining it back?
It sounds completely backwards, doesn't it?
Right. It really does. But today, we have this document in front of us, and it's literally titled High-Protein Foods for Weight Loss.
Which, sounds like every other trendy diet guide out there right now.
Exactly. But our mission for this deep dive is to kind of tear this text apart. We want to move past that catchy title and really unpack the fundamental pillars of healthy weight management.
Because the reality of the science is so much deeper than just, eating more protein.
Yeah, we are going to look at the actual biology of why consistency and a truly holistic approach to your health will always beat the temporary, flashy, quick fix.
And that's such a critical message for anyone who feels stuck in that endless diet cycle.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this because reading through this document, I honestly couldn't help but think about the sheer mechanics of adaptation.
You mean like how our bodies physically respond to stress?
Yeah, exactly. Like, think about back when you were in school. The difference between frantically cramming the night before a final exam versus actually doing the reading bit by bit over the semester.
Oh, the all-nighter with like way too many energy drinks. We've all been there.
Right, and that cramming, that all-nighter, is your classic diet quick fix. I mean, sure, you pass the test the next morning, or you step on the scale and see a lower number.
But 2 weeks later?
2 weeks later, your brain hasn't actually retained any of the information. It hasn't formed the neural pathways.
Because it didn't have to adapt long term. It just survived a crisis.
Yes, exactly. But steady learning, it physically changes the structure of your brain. And metabolically speaking, the human body operates on that exact same principle of structural adaptation.
Which is precisely the wavelength this document is operating on right from the jump.
Yeah, and the contrast between that kind of surface-level compliance and actual structural adaptation is exactly what we're looking at today.
Because you look at the title of this document, High-Protein Foods for Weight Loss, and your brain immediately expects another cram search.
Oh, for sure. You expect a list of magical foods.
Right, another hyper-specific silver bullet list engineered to hack your metabolism for, like, a beach vacation. But the text aggressively pivots away from that.
It really does.
It uses that high-protein hook to set a much broader, deeply holistic stage from the very opening sentences. It reframes the conversation entirely away from just eat this one macronutrient.
And moves straight into the underlying physiology of sustainable health. But let me play devil's advocate for a second here, because I really want to push back on this title.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, the very first premise the text lays out, its absolute thesis statement, is this exact quote. Healthy weight loss begins with sustainable habits rather than quick fixes.
A very solid premise.
Right. But if the goal is to avoid quick fixes, isn't plastering high protein on the front door exactly the kind of reductive single-nutrient obsession that leads to those crash dieting cram sessions?
It does seem counterintuitive.
It feels like a massive contradiction right out of the gate. Like, why name it that?
What's fascinating here is how the authors deliberately use that contradiction. It's essentially a structural Trojan horse.
Trojan horse?
Yeah. They know the cultural zeitgeist. When people want to lose weight, they search for levers they can pull immediately. And right now, high protein is the ultimate cultural shorthand for rapid fat loss.
True. It's everywhere. Every label in the grocery store screams protein.
Exactly. So they use that hook to get you in the door, but once you're actually reading, they deliver the actual biological reality.
Which is that isolating a single macronutrient doesn't actually work.
Right. It's metabolically useless if the foundational habits aren't sustainable. If you just spike your protein intake but keep your body in a state of severe chaotic caloric restriction, the classic quick fix, your body doesn't just cheerfully burn fat.
Wait, what does it do instead?
It downregulates your basal metabolic rate. Your thyroid hormone production literally drops.
Oh, wow. So you're slowing your own engine down.
Exactly. Your body literally adapts to run on fewer calories, meaning the moment you stop cramming, you regain the weight rapidly.
So the text is basically using the allure of protein to sit you down and teach you a lesson.
Pretty much. It's teaching you that without a sustainable physiological environment, extra protein is just, well, expensive calories.
Man, that makes a lot of sense. It's a bait and switch that actually saves you from that metabolic downregulation.
Precisely.
So once the text establishes that sustainability is the absolute physiological requirement for success, It outlines the specific dietary components needed to build that environment.
And it gives a very specific list here.
Yeah, the source material provides a very explicit list.
Mhm.
Whole foods, vegetables, fruits, lean protein, healthy fats, fiber, and hydration.
Which covers all the bases.
It does. But, usually we hear lists like this and we think of a symphony orchestra where everything just sort of plays together nicely.
A very nice harmonious image.
Right. But given the biology we were talking about today, I actually look at this list more like a highly regulated construction site.
Oh, I like that. A construction site is actually a much more accurate model for what is happening at the cellular level. Walk me through how you're mapping these nutrients out.
Okay, so if we look at the title, lean protein is being treated like the actual bricks. It's the building material for muscle, which is what everyone focuses on.
The glamorous part of the job.
Exactly. But you can't just dump a pile of bricks on an empty lot and call it a skyscraper.
Right. You need infrastructure.
Yes. The healthy fats and the hydration, those are the mortar and the logistical network keeping the site running. The vegetables and fruits are the scaffolding and the specific electrical wiring like the micronutrients that allow the building to function.
And where does fiber fit into this site?
The fiber is the project manager. It's dictating the speed at which everything is delivered.
It's a brilliant way to look at it.
Because if you just consume, say, a highly processed liquid protein shake, which is basically just dumping bricks on the site, you overwhelm the system.
You absolutely do.
For it to actually build a healthier metabolism, the text implies everything must be packaged as whole foods, so the body has to physically do the work of tearing it apart.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we can look at the precise biochemical reasons why whole foods force your body to do that work.
Let's do it. What's happening biochemically?
Let's take your fiber example, the project manager. When you eat a processed high-protein diet bar, it is essentially pre-digested.
Because it's already broken down in a factory.
Exactly. It hits your stomach and rapid fires right into your bloodstream. Your insulin spikes, and because there is no fibrous matrix to slow gastric emptying, your stomach empties incredibly quickly.
So it's like the delivery trucks just dumped everything at once and sped off.
Yes, and within an hour, your levels of ghrelin, which is the hormone that signals hunger to your brain, start rising again.
Wait, really, an hour later?
Yeah. You ate the protein, sure, but biologically you were starving. But when you get that same protein from a whole food source, wrapped in vegetables, fruits, and healthy fats, you fundamentally alter the hormonal response.
Because the fiber physically acts as a net, right? It slows down the breakdown of the food.
Exactly. It delays gastric emptying. But it goes much deeper than just mechanical slowing.
How so?
When that fibrous whole food reaches your lower intestine, your gut microbiome begins fermenting it. And it produces what are called short-chain fatty acids, specifically one called butyrate.
Butyrate. Okay, what does that do?
These short-chain fatty acids send direct signals to your brain to release GLP-1 and PYY.
Oh, I've heard of those. Those are the satiety hormones.
Yes, very powerful satiety hormones. And this is exactly why the source material groups protein with fiber, fats, and whole foods. It isn't just about getting the right vitamins.
It's about building an environment.
Right. It is about engineering a hormonal environment where you are physically not hungry. The very nature of eating whole, fibrous foods requires chewing. It requires digestive energy, which is known as the thermic effect of food.
So you're burning energy just to process the food.
Exactly. And it actively hacks your hunger hormones to make the calorie deficit sustainable. The food dictates the biological response, and that biological response makes the habit sustainable.
So the whole idea of just eating protein to lose weight is completely divorced from how our digestion actually communicates with our brain.
Completely.
But, even if your diet is perfectly calibrated and you have the fiber managing the site and the protein building the muscle, there seems to be a hidden biological override switch that can force your body to store fat anyway.
Ah, yes. The lifestyle factors.
Yeah, because the document transitions from what we eat directly to how we live, literally without skipping a beat. Right alongside the fruits and vegetables, the source material explicitly lists regular movement, quality sleep, and mindful eating.
Which surprises a lot of people in a text about nutrition.
Yeah, and on behalf of everyone listening, I think I get the movement part. You move more, you burn more energy. Simple.
Sure, the basic math.
But how exactly do quality sleep and mindful eating fit into a traditional diet model? Why are sleep and mindfulness given the exact same weight as lean protein?
Because without them, the entire metabolic construction site shuts down.
Just completely shuts down.
Completely. It totally subverts the traditional diet model because the authors recognize you cannot isolate your digestive system from your nervous and endocrine systems.
Okay, let's look at quality sleep first. How does that fit in?
Well, in a quick fix diet, sleep is often treated as a luxury. But biologically, sleep is the master regulator of your metabolism.
The master regulator.
Yes. When you are sleep deprived, and I mean even by just a few hours for a few nights in a row, your body's cortisol levels remain elevated.
And cortisol is a stress hormone, right?
Exactly. It's a stress hormone, and one of its primary functions is to mobilize glucose into your bloodstream. To handle all that extra glucose, your body pumps out more insulin.
Which means your cells become resistant to it over time.
Yes. Just a few nights of poor sleep can drop your insulin sensitivity by up to 30%.
Wow, 30% just from a few bad nights of sleep.
Yeah. And when your body is insulin resistant, it struggles to shuttle nutrients into your muscle cells, those bricks you were talking about earlier.
So where do the bricks go?
Instead, it preferentially shuttles those calories into your fat cells. Furthermore, lack of sleep suppresses leptin, which is the hormone that tells you you're full, and it skyrockets ghrelin.
The hunger hormone we talked about. So you're just rabid.
Exactly. You could be eating the absolute perfect ratio of lean protein and whole foods, but if you are chronically sleep deprived, your hormonal environment is violently fighting to store fat and make you crave sugar.
That is wild.
The text includes sleep because a tired brain physically cannot execute the intentionality required to make whole food choices.
Man, that makes the inclusion of mindful eating click into place perfectly too. Because if sleep dictates your hormones overnight, mindful eating seems to dictate them in the actual moment you sit down with your plate. And it's not just some philosophical new age concept, right? There's a real physiological mechanism there.
Absolutely. The biological mechanism is called the cephalic phase response.
Cephalic phase response.
Yeah. Digestion actually begins in your brain, not your stomach. Before food even hits your tongue, the sight, smell, and anticipation of the meal trigger your brain to start releasing saliva, gastric acid, and digestive enzymes.
Oh, so your body is prepping the site for the delivery.
Exactly. But this only happens optimally if your nervous system is in a parasympathetic state, the rest and digest mode.
Okay, but what if I'm, eating at my desk?
Well, if you are eating that perfectly balanced plate of lean protein and vegetables while stressed, scrolling through work emails or driving in traffic, your body is locked in a sympathetic state. That's the fight or flight mode.
And fight or flight, your body isn't prioritizing digesting a salad. It's prioritizing surviving a perceived threat.
Precisely. Blood flow is actually routed away from your digestive tract and toward your extremities. Your enzyme production drops significantly.
So the healthy food doesn't even get processed properly.
Right. You can eat the healthiest food in the world, but if you eat it mindlessly in a state of stress, you are physically unable to absorb the nutrients efficiently, and you bypass the body's natural satiety cues completely.
Wow. Mindful eating is literally the physical switch that turns on your digestive machinery.
It really is. And the text pairs this with regular movement, noting specifically that it doesn't demand extreme, punishing daily workouts.
Which goes right back to the difference between the all-nighter cram session and just showing up for class.
Exactly.
Extreme workouts spike that exact same stress hormone, cortisol. But regular, moderate movement just sort of hums along in the background.
Right. Extreme workouts are so often compensatory, like people trying to out-train a bad diet, which just drives up hunger and stress even more.
Yeah, you feel exhausted and just want to eat everything in sight.
Exactly. But regular movement relies on something called NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Neat. What does that actually look like day to day?
This is just the energy you burn walking, standing, folding laundry, and just living your life. It is highly sustainable, it doesn't spike your hunger hormones, and it improves your cellular mitochondrial density over time.
So it's building up the engine.
Yeah. When you combine neat parasympathetic mindful eating and insulin-sensitizing sleep, you create an internal biological environment where the protein and fiber can actually do the job they were hired to do.
It fundamentally changes the definition of a diet, from a list of restrictions to a system of cellular management.
I love that phrasing, cellular management.
Yeah, and that brings us to the ultimate long-term results these actions produce when they are actually integrated into your life. The source text leaves us with this final factual conclusion, and it says, small, consistent actions performed every day lead to lasting health, improved energy, and better weight management.
A powerful summary.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because when I read that sentence, I thought about the concept of compound interest. But not just the cliche financial analogy where you put a dollar in a bank and wait 40 years.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about cellular adaptation.
Right, the cellular equivalent of compound interest. Let's unpack how that applies to the mechanisms we've just been discussing.
Well, if you do a single workout or eat a single high-protein, high-fiber meal, you haven't really changed your body. You
Yeah.
just made a single deposit.
A drop in the bucket.
Exactly. But biologically, when you consistently prioritize regular movement and whole foods, you're actually triggering epigenetic changes and mitochondrial biogenesis.
Building the infrastructure.
Yes, your body literally builds more mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, to handle the consistent demand. The magic isn't in the single action. It's in forcing the body to adapt its baseline infrastructure.
It's a cumulative effect.
Right. A tiny, seemingly insignificant choice made daily eventually snowballs until your body burns energy more efficiently even at rest. The text is basically promising us that the daily compounding of these small physiological signals is the only way to achieve real transformation.
And the math of compound interest aligns perfectly with the biology of sustainable habits.
It really does.
Because every time you get a full night of sleep or sit down for a mindful meal, you are signaling to your DNA to downregulate inflammation and upregulate metabolic efficiency.
You're casting votes for the new identity of your cells.
Exactly. And what is really striking about that final sentence from the source text is the specific outcomes it lists. It explicitly says, lasting health, improved energy, and better weight management. It does not just promise weight loss.
It puts weight management last, actually.
It does, and this raises an important question. Do we as a society focus entirely on the weight management part of the equation, treating it as the primary goal, while completely ignoring the biological realities of lasting health and improved energy that actually make those habits possible in the first place?
Oh, we absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
We treat the number on the scale as the leading indicator of success, when biologically, it's just a side effect.
It is the ultimate lagging indicator. Adipose tissue body fat changes slowly. You might not see the scale move for weeks, despite doing everything right.
Which is so frustrating for people.
It is. But improved energy, that is an immediate daily dividend. The moment you prioritize sleep, your cortisol drops and your energy stabilizes.
You feel it the very next day.
Right. And the moment you switch from processed sugars to fibrous whole foods, your blood glucose stops crashing and your brain fog lifts.
So true.
The text suggests that if we shift our focus to the immediate biological feedback of energy and digestive health, the weight management will naturally follow as a mathematical certainty of the cellular environment we've built.
It's inevitable.
Yes. By chasing the quick fix for rapid weight loss, you intentionally destroy the energy and health that a sustainable approach guarantees.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom all the way out and look at the actual science this document has walked us through today, it just completely destroys the illusion of the quick fix.
It really dismantles it.
It means that true health isn't achieved by frantically cramming protein into a broken, stressed-out, sleep-deprived system. True health is a carefully engineered biological environment.
An ecosystem, really.
Exactly. It is the combination of whole foods that demand digestive work, regular movement that builds mitochondrial density, protective sleep that regulates your insulin, and mindful presence that allows your body to actually absorb it all.
Beautifully said.
And the engine that drives this entire system is the compounding physiological adaptation of small, consistent daily actions.
It's moving away from fighting your biology with crash diets and instead cooperating with your cellular machinery to build a sustainable baseline.
Exactly. And as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Always good to end on an actionable note.
Definitely. We've talked extensively about the biological mechanisms of small, consistent actions and how they reshape your metabolism. So my question for you is this. What is one tiny micro-habit you can implement today?
And we mean tiny.
Yeah, I'm not talking about completely overhauling your macro tracking. I mean something incredibly small to change your internal environment. Could it be simply drinking a glass of water before your morning coffee to aid in cellular hydration?
Or taking 3 deep, intentional breaths to activate your parasympathetic nervous system before you eat your next meal.
Exactly. What is that one tiny signal you can send to your body today that could act as the very first domino to trigger all these other sustainable habits?
That's the real starting line.
It is. Give yourself that mission. Find your one small action and let the compounding begin.